What's going on, guys? Appreciate you guys for being here. My name is Elijah, founder of the Grindtribe, and today we're going to be tapping into a topic that I felt was really important, and I've been actually meaning to make this video. And that topic is on mental health. All right, and today I'm going to be going into the 9 pillars of mental health success for Black men and entrepreneurs. Now, this video is going to be for you. You don't have to be an entrepreneur, but if you're somebody that has a career, or you have a high level of respect for their body of work, whether it be as if that body of work is connected to the way that you make money, or a passion project, or something that you consistently occupy your mind with, this is going to be really important. Now, the reason why I'm making this video within the context of being for Black men and entrepreneurs is because we all know mental health is something that we have to pay attention to, right? And when I found out the importance of mental health, it was through my work. Because a couple years out of college, and I realized that a lot of what I produce as an entrepreneur, as a creator, is tied to how I feel mentally and emotionally. And so I got to the point where I can no longer neglect this idea of mental health. Even before COVID, I got to the point where I could no longer neglect this idea of having a sound mental health, because it was directly tied to the amount of money I was making, right? And so for a lot of us, until COVID, or until we came into some sort of traumatic experience or hit a really bad low, we also weren't aware of the different aspects of our mental health that affect us, the relationships, the people around us, our career, our work, our business, and etc. So I boiled it down into 9 pillars based on my journey and just being in other rooms where this is a constant topic of relevance for entrepreneurs and people that are serious about their work. You know, we have a big burnout issue inside of the community, and so I wanted to be able to create relevance around this with a little bit of context to give you guys, you know, just a little bit of perspective. All right, let's go into step number 1. Don't ignore the warning signs, right? There are a lot of warning signs that your mental health may not be where it's supposed to be, right? Some of these things may be oversleeping, insomnia, burnout, neglect, your level of intimacy with yourself or your partner. Don't neglect these signs, especially when you feel yourself getting really numb, right? Or I call it ego-driven to these different important aspects of your life. Now, this is really important, because as entrepreneurs, we can sometimes get very tunnel vision, right? And inside of that tunnel vision, we can be experiencing things that maybe we need to heal from, or maybe we need to tend to on the mental side. But because we're so laser eye focused and tunnel vision into what we're trying to build or create or accomplish, we begin to kind of numb ourselves out from those feelings, and we don't actually take the time to be attentive to it until we hit that brick wall, until we're depressed, until we're in a hospital, until we're going through sort of this rock bottom that 100% is going to affect everything around us. And so number 1 is going to be, don't ignore the signs. Pay attention to your patterns and your habits, and pay attention into just the way that you feel throughout the day. These are some really good indicators, right? There's a difference between being stressed out and being so burnt out to the point where you don't even want to open your email. You procrastinate at a super high level, right? And so be aware of these things, and don't ignore the warning signs. Step number 2, stop letting things that aren't important live rent-free inside of your mind. Bro, oh my goodness, especially when COVID came around, it exposed me to so many different people around me who had just different opinions or different ways of going about things than I would have thought them to have, right? And especially in this very racially charged time that we live in, especially in this time where now it's not even about race anymore. Now it's all about this, like, the jab versus anti-jab, liberal versus conservative. We live in a huge time of division. And so subconsciously, a lot of us are operating inside of the identity of our thought ideologies and shit like that. And so it's important that you don't let people who have different opinions on certain matters that you have opinions on, or people that just aren't important or do things that aren't important, allow those comments and those things to live rent-free in your mind. This is especially for you guys that work inside of the corporate, more professional atmosphere, right? Things can get very passive aggressive. This is actually the reason why I did not go corporate after college. I just couldn't deal with the level of passive aggressiveness as a conscious Black man, right? And so for a lot of you guys that may deal with those small little nuanced things, whether it be inside of your personal life, as well as inside your professional life, don't let people with different opinions or who go about things in a different way than you would, don't let their actions or their energy or their comments live rent-free in your head, because it ends up getting to a position where you're just, all these things are piling up, and now you got all these things from other people's lives that are causing you mental stress, that are causing you just putting you in a lower conscious space, and it's just not needed, especially if you can avoid it. Step number 3, create boundaries with people that drain you, right? We live in an age of you guys see these social media memes that kind of circle around, and if they don't support your goals and if they don't do this, cut them off. And I think that's a little bit too much of a rugged, individualistic approach to things. Like, the reality is, you can't cut off you shouldn't really cut off your parents or your cousins or people that, just may have not experienced the level of healing, consciousness, or growth that you have, right? Everybody has a place, and everybody's in their own journey as well. So we got to understand that. But what you can do is create boundaries with people that may drain you, because not everybody that drains you tries to do it intentionally. And so we must understand that everybody's on their own journey. At some point where you are mentally, you have maybe been draining to somebody. I know that I was draining to people before, right? And so just create those levels of boundaries for yourself with the people that may drain you from an energetic perspective, or the way that they go about things, or just who they are, or the things that they do. It can seem kind of draining when you're in a good headspace. And that's the caveat of having good mental health. People with bad mental health, or people who aren't aware of certain things, drain you unintentionally. Create boundaries. Don't completely cut off access to you, but just let it be known that you're not going to be around, or you're not going to engage in certain things, conversations, and spaces, because it's simply just what you do not prefer. And there's 100% nothing wrong with that. All right, so have those healthy conversations, and really just create those healthy levels of separation from people that may drain you on a mental level. Number 4, learn to understand your emotions. I'm going to say this one more time. Learn to understand your emotions. We have a lot of this talk around therapy, and therapy is not like the bottleneck of the solution. I believe that my therapist is my mental health consultant. They're not going to solve my problems for me. They're just going to give me a little bit of perspective based on what I'm sharing with them to help me navigate through. Now, the reason why I say understand your emotions is because a lot of times we may be dealing with certain things mentally, and we're trying to use narratives to say that, hey, I'm anxious, or I deal with sadness or depression. And sometimes the narratives may actually not serve us. Sometimes the narrative may be like, well, I have this anxiety, or I deal with depression because I'm a beta male. That's just a narrative. Instead, understand those emotions. Try to understand where they came from inside of your lifestyle. Are they things that are part of who you are, or are they things that were conditioned inside of your lifestyle or inside of your mind growing up, or through the different experiences that you have? When you can understand your emotions, then you can have better command on how you decide to let those emotions affect your life, right? You may be more aggressive than somebody, right? You may be more assertive. You may be more prone to sadness or depression. You may have more anxiety, right? You may be triggered easily. Some of these things are conditioned, and you do need to take to approach to understand them, and try to not rid yourself of them, but try to understand them and alleviate them. But some parts of your emotions are simply a part of who you are. Like, I'm a naturally a little bit more assertive, and I wouldn't really say aggressive, but very, very driven guy. And if I don't understand those can become toxic in relationships and business partnerships, right? And so, even for myself, right? And so there's nothing wrong with understanding that certain parts of my traits that aren't really the best, or the best in ideal situations. It's just important for me to understand them, so that way I can dictate how those things are going to show up inside of my lifestyle. And so understand your emotions. Get to understand yourself and understand your emotions. All right, number 5. Don't ride the highs and lows of achievement. Oh my goodness, man. When I was running my startup, even when I run as a consultant, as a coach, what I do today, right? There are these periods of mass achievement, and there's these periods of massive, what is even going on right now, bro? And one thing I learned is that when you attach yourself to the highs and lows of I'm achieving versus nothing's happening, you really take yourself on an emotional roller coaster that can get you real dizzy, and that can get you real sick. Because one day you're cruising on this high frequency, based on something that's external, and then the next day you're not. One of the biggest lessons that I had to learn was to just keep myself grounded through the process, right? Celebrate the wins, but don't attach yourself to them, right? Because there's also gonna be lows in different parts of your journey where you're going through that low for a reason. Maybe you have to learn about yourself. Maybe you have to learn about the process, right? And if you attach yourself to that low and you kind of refigure who you are from an identity standpoint based on the fact that you're just not achieving what you want, you just go through the cycle of doubt versus like courage, doubt, courage, scarcity, fear, courage, pride, right? You don't want to keep on going through these. You become very emotionally driven, and when you become very emotionally driven, you stay in sort of this reactive state. And that reactive state is where you have no control over your emotions, or what these guys call as beta, right? You're just being very driven by emotions. So don't ride the highs and the lows, accept your wins, and take pride in your losses as well. The biggest levels of knowledge that I ever got inside of my lifestyle, relationships, money, business, people, came from losses, came from mistakes that I made. Just taking ownership and not attaching myself to the fact that, I took a loss. Right? Not judging myself based on that, and just kind of keeping myself grounded all the way through. Number 6, don't attach your identity to any one thing or person, right? The flashy cars, the pretty women. Listen, foundation of your identity is what's going on internally, right? It can become very, very easy for us to attach ourselves to the different materialistic things, or even like things like women or friend groups that we have. Now, the problem with that is, well, when those things may go away, now we don't know who we are. Now we're going through an identity crisis. I did it plenty of times in my lifestyle. I did it first time I was ever in love, brokenhearted. And we probably all did it, right? We all went through that first puppy dog love, right? But I even did it in different businesses that I had, like just attaching myself to this success. Oh, I'm getting paid 5-figure contracts. Oh, I'm this, I'm a startup entrepreneur, I'm this, right? But then when certain of those things either are taken away or things happen and those things start to descend, now again, I'm judging myself, and I'm looking at myself based on what's not in here and what's outside of here. And what happens when we do that is we simply just give things that we can't control, or things that can be taken away from us, we give those things our power. Right? And so being able to detach yourself from those external things and connections will allow you to build your level of internal fortitude and certainty within yourself. When you have that certainty within yourself, going back to what we just talked about, riding those highs and the lows, you know how to ride through those lows because you know that's a part of the process, right? Number 7, take care of your body and self-image. This is really, really important. When you take care of your body actually just vibrates physiologically at a higher vibration, right? When you're more healthy, especially when it comes from a physical and even a gut health perspective. A lot of these different mental health things that we may deal with do come from experiences, traumas, things that are going inside of our head. But a lot of them also come from what's going on internally, and specifically inside of our gut, right? They say our gut is our second brain. Dementia, depression, right? If any of you got a good book I would suggest is The Ultra Mind Solution by Dr. Mark Hyman, right? He talks a lot about gut to mind connection and how eating sugar, processed foods, having a misaligned, bad gut microbiome and bad gut health, how those things actually affect your brain, right? ADHD, dementia, depression. And you can actually, fight your way out of a lot of those different things through what you're eating and what you're doing with your body alone, right? So taking care of your body, putting the right things in your body, as well as your self-image. Your self-image is really, really important, right? Like your self-image is a lens that you view yourself from. And so doing things like making sure you got a haircut and just taking care of yourself, it helps you release positive brain chemicals like serotonin and dopamine because you're happy about yourself and how you're being presented. Not to mention, when you take care of yourself, other people treat you better. And so even at those times where you may be more emotionally sensitive, right? You're not dealing with as much external resistance, right? There's a difference between me going through the store and I'm dealing with some shit that day in my business or my personal life or my love life, and people are saying hi and open up the door for me. It's like, okay, well, I'm dealing with some shit, but damn, okay, I like that, right? Versus like I'm going through that same level of shit emotionally, and people are being rude, I'm being treated certain ways because people don't respect me based on my image. And again, we can go back and forth on whether you care what people think about you or not, but what I will say is that you do react to the way that people react to you. So taking care of your self-image is extremely important from a physiological standpoint, as it connects with your brains and your chemicals, as well as how people perceive you, how you perceive yourself. And one of the things I did to get myself out of the first time I was in depression is I just started working out, right? I just simply changed my self-image dramatically, and it helps so much, not just physiologically, but mentally as well. All right, number 8, get good people around you. Man, this is gonna be so important. Making sure that your circle is filled with quality, harmonious, high level, high vibrational people. This is so important, right? One of the worst things that you can do is get yourself around people who do not have your best interests in mind, who are using you, who are putting you in a position to constantly be a liability of the decisions that they make, the things that they talk about, and what they're around, right? Check your circle and make sure that you're surrounding yourself with good people, people that have your best interests in mind, people that bring you higher vibrations when you're connected with them, people that bring you laughter, joy, safety, not people that you feel like you got to put up a front for or a facade for. One of the best things I ever did for my mental health, and the reason why I personally feel like I have had a very, very solid foundation with my mental health over the last couple of years, even as an entrepreneur, which we are the biggest group of people who suffer from mental health issues unknowingly, right? Is getting myself around a solid group of bros that I know really, really have my best interests at heart, and that stand by me, that support me, and also just we have a great time together, but they're also not liabilities to me. So they're not dragging me into things that are a liability to my mental health, right? We're having similar conversations, we have similar visions with each other, and we value similar things. And so because of that, I have a circle of people that bring me a higher yield on my relationship with them, as well as my time and my engagement with them. And that's so, so important. Lastly, number 9, make sure you are grounded in faith. Faith, faith, faith. Now, I'm a spiritual person. I'm just not that religious, but it doesn't matter if you're religious or you're spiritual. Just being grounded in faith, your connection with God or whoever your God is, or whoever, higher power, higher self, being connected with that higher level faith is going to be able to keep you grounded inside of your process. Because a lot of times, we like to be control freaks, right? And when we're not in control of certain situations, or certain situations have a little bit of uncertainty in them, what they do is they start to bring out the scarcity and the fear and all those lower vibrational emotions that are attached to not knowing, right? All those lower vibrational emotions that's attached to our egoic mind, right? And having faith allows you to trust the process, right? Having faith allows you to abide by certain rules. And one of the rules that I live by is the answers will come when you're ready to understand them, right? And sometimes we don't have all the answers. And there are moments where certain things just click and we figure out, we make breakthroughs in our business, our life, our relationships, whatever it may be. But you have to have faith. You have to trust that process. You have to be grounded in something bigger than who you are physically, right? Because that's what's going to allow you to really steer the course and really just trust your process and be appreciative, right? And have gratitude and know that everything you're going through is to build your exact character. Your character right now is actually just a result of every single compounded millisecond of an experience that you've ever had in life. Isn't that amazing? Right? And so sometimes stepping back and having that ground in faith allows you to give you the perspective that you need to weather through the storm and get the perspective that you can to have that mental health foundation. So listen, guys, I hope you found this super insightful. Mental health is real. And we have to be mindful of it, especially for my brothers that are out here building. I know that as a Black man who's value driven, who's building a business, looking to build generational wealth, I sometimes feel like I'm constantly just building and protecting at the same time, right? We have these certain nuances around our lifestyles that obviously, as we've learned through COVID-19, a lot of people don't want to understand, and that's okay. But that's why we got each other. That's why we're facilitating these conversations. And to anybody that's listening to this, even if you're not Black, take care of your mental health. It is important, right? It is a huge part of just the way that you see life, right? The way that you experience life, your standard of life. So thank you guys for tapping in. If you found this helpful, please drop a comment. I would love to engage with you guys. Hit that subscribe button and share this with somebody that you think would be helpful for. I want to be able to bring these more conscious conversations to my channel. I'm not really here to talk about all the nonsense. And again, I know all the nonsense sometimes sells and gets more views, but I'm a purpose-driven, conscious-driven, impact driven brother. And so I'm gonna continue to stay in my course and put out what I think is important and relevant for you guys to grow. All right, so I appreciate you guys for tapping in. All love. All right, you guys have an amazing one. Peace.